We have now experienced WWE Backlash. It was, it was there. To help me break it all down, joining me on the hotline, you hear him Sunday mornings, 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific. That's 10 a.m. to noon Central. On KDON FM in Las Vegas. Of course, he streams it on the Odyssey app. Of course, KDON is an Odyssey station, kind of like 94.7 here in Austin. Streams it on social media. Man, I've known for quite some time now, and I guess now I'm a kind of a co-host on his show. So only fair he comes on my show. It is Mark Hoke, the host of the Mark Hoke Show. Mark, how are you, man?
Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever the heck it is, Stu. I'm losing track. Very happy to be here with you, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Let's start with, before we get into Backlash and everything, let's start with the news that broke. It actually broke towards the end of your show Sunday morning about Sabu, the homicidal, genocidal, suicidal, death-defying Sabu, passing away at the age of 60. The ECW, icon and hardcore icon. In fact, he just had his retirement match just a few weeks ago against Joey Janela there in Las Vegas. Give me your thoughts on the passing of Sabu.
Well, number one, it's pretty stunning. I mean, he just did a crazy barbed wirey, nutsy match out here, just a few weeks ago, and seemed fine. Nobody, at least at that time, said that anything was wrong. So, I think it caught everybody off guard. But I think one thing that I learned through his passing was just how many people really had a ton of respect for Sabu and what he did in the industry. Like I said, I was on the air, or we were on the air when it happened, and just the constant flood of sympathies given out and memories. I mean, I think sometimes if you weren't that big of an ECW fan, you don't quite understand the impact that he had. But wow, the wrestling community is devastated, and now we're hearing some interesting things that happened the night he was in Vegas doing that retirement match. And don't want to dig into too many rumors, but just saying that he may have been given some sort of drug before the match to get him rolling. And yeah, this is going to be interesting to see where all this goes, because there's a lot of people that are going a little bit crazy about it, but the impact of Sabu is unbelievable.
Well, and that's kind of the thing about it is, he was seen, during the height of ECW, he was seen as just the hardcore guy, the guy that would crash through tables and go through barbed wire and go, fireballs and all that good stuff. And yet, with his passing, we have seen how many individuals were influenced by Sabu. How many people giving their tribute? We saw it Monday night on Raw with CM Punk when he came to the ring. First thing he did was point to the sky like Sabu would. So, it's and the news about, was he given something to get him through the match? I think that's a discussion for another time. I think right now it's just a matter of remembering his life, remember the impact he did have on the wrestling industry. And, of course, thoughts, condolences go out to his family, his friends, those that worked with him. You think of all the ECW alums across the wrestling industry. You think of Taz. He and Taz, probably one of the most iconic rivalries in ECW. Of course, Taz now part of the commentary team for AEW Dynamite. And he had some wonderful words for Sabu. So, and I think it was, it caught us by surprise, passing at the age of 60. But at the same time, I think, if you had seen him out and about, if he was at a card or something, or at a convention, signing or something, you could see how much how much damage his body
Ugh.
had suffered through all those wars. Um, so yeah, I mean, again, thoughts and prayers to his family and friends. Sabu passing away at the age of 60, and he will be remembered forever for what he contributed to pro wrestling. So
Yeah, and it was crazy too, Stu, if you don't mind me mentioning it, that
yeah.
there were so many people putting up pictures of Sabu from last week.
Mm-hmm.
That he had taken pictures with him and done videos and all sorts of things, and he seemed fine. So this is going to be it'll be interesting to see what the cause of death was, but it just missed by so many people, and it's going to be, and I'm sure it was a shock to the ECW gang too.
Yeah.
You know, because those guys just seem like they're immortal.
Yeah.
I mean, they did so many crazy things, and now, one of their main guys has finally passed. So I'm sure maybe a few guys may have gone to get a checkup.
I'm sure. And that's that happens. Let's talk about Backlash. Backlash was Saturday. I'll ask you, give me a letter grade for the entire show of WWE Backlash.
I'm in the B to B plus range.
Okay.
There were some good matches on there, some shaky stuff that as well, but overall it was fun. But it
Yeah.
had its spots. It had its spots where I was kind of like, yeah, let's get to the next match. But
Yeah, it was an easy watch. I think 2:45 by the time it was said and done. 2 hours 45 minutes. It was 5 matches, easy watch. I think you would agree with me. The match of the night easily was Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. They put on a hell of a match, and they put each other through the ringer.
yeah, there was a breakout performance for Lyra.
Yeah,
To get in the ring with Becky on that stage. She wrestled her before, so they've danced a couple of times, but for her to do what she did and just go move for move and look terrific doing it, huge performance for her.
yeah,
It was funny. I was seeing a lot of people that were kind of banging on her during the match, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I mean, I was very impressed with her. She put herself in a higher stratosphere for me after that match.
yeah. I've been a fan of Lyra Valkyria going back to her NXT days. I'm just fascinated by her. She's a wonderful young talent, and to see her, I think she had that match that kind of made her okay. This is a true WWE superstar. Made her that night, and it was a really good match. The 4-way for the IC title with Jacob Fatu defeating it was a LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre. That was pretty good for what it was. I don't think anybody expected Jacob to lose the title, but it was like you said, it was a fun match. It was a fun just sit back and watch the violence ensue. So give me your thoughts on Jacob Fatu retaining the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, not a shock. We're slowly setting up the Solo Sikoa turn on him, and with Jeff Cobb there now, Solo's got his muscle to do the thing, and great facial reactions by Jacob Fatu, just looking at Solo and Jeff Cobb and saying, "What is going on here? What's he doing here?"
Kind of kind of that mysterious. Okay, hold on. Is because you got a feeling it's going to be set up kind of a Jeff Cobb is going to take Solo or Fatu's spot, when it relates to Solo Sikoa, which, and look, I love Jeff Cobb to death. He's fantastic. I'm lucky enough. I call him a friend, and he is, not to mention, and I said this on your show on Sunday, I would say he is probably at least top 5 strongest individuals in wrestling. Doesn't matter what the brand is. I mean, I have seen him do stuff that just makes your jaw drop. So yeah. We had Gunther defeating Pat McAfee,
Mm,
and then
uh,
John Cena
uh,
defeating Randy Orton. I would say both those matches probably were at least 15 to 20% longer than they should have been and incredibly overbooked. It felt like Tony Khan was booking those two matches. Give me your
oh,
best.
you're so mean to Tony.
I love
The Mac,
Tony. I love Tony, but come on, let's call a spade a spade.
the McAfee match way too long. Uh, and the thing is, you watch Monday Night Raw, and oh, everybody respects each other now. That was the story. Really? You got to be kidding me. There's there's got to be, well, there doesn't have to be more to it than that, but there should have been.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of shook hands at the end and everybody was all pals. And I'm like, no.
Well, and then
I,
and then Gunther
oh,
comes out and challenges Jey Uso, assuming he survives Saturday Night's main event. So it was a brief, like little, okay, I'll give you respect. So, but nevertheless, yeah, it was, and it was like you said, just way too long. Um, I understand they wanted to give McAfee a chance to at least show off a few moves. I get that. And look, it's, wrestling fandom, WWE fans are, it's either one extreme, either you either love what he does or you hate what he does. I'm in the camp of I like it. I enjoy his work on Raw. Um, but yeah, that match just went too long.
they got the wrong guy in there. I was just thinking about this too. It would have been very interesting to me if they would have used Logan Paul against Pat McAfee. I don't know how the match would have been, but what a test it would have been for both of those guys to get through a match without an experienced veteran in there and see what happens. And Logan Paul being as obnoxious as he is,
Mm-hmm.
that would have blown social media up too. If that was their goal, it would have been interesting. But you know, there was a good spot in there where Michael Cole was holding the ankle down, and you maybe thought, oh, are they going to really do this? And they didn't, thank God. But yeah, it was one comeback too many. We'll just say that.
Yeah. Well, I would say that as as overbooked and long as McAfee Gunther was, Cena Orton might have topped it. 3 ref bumps. Amazingly, no outside interference. I mean, Cena wins with the belt shot, a nut shot in the belt shot. If he's, Cena has, proclaimed he wants to ruin wrestling. Well, so far, these matches are doing a pretty good job of it. These are not good matches.
The match itself, other than everybody firing finishers all over the place, was a decent match. But yeah, it was just too many false finishes, the overbooking, and I said this on the show with you on Sunday that the crowd probably really was into that. It was just hitting you with another bomb after bomb after bomb, and I'm sure people in the stands really got a thrill out of watching the hometown guy do what he did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of WCW to me. You know what I mean? It was just there were so many weird things that happened, and they didn't need to have everybody come out and do what they did, with Nick Aldis and so on. I think that part could have been cut out, but easily. It wasn't bad. And it wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't WrestleMania bad.
No,
but it wasn't good. I don't think it was. Yeah, the thing with Nick Aldis and the security coming out and Orton giving all of them RKOs.
And don't forget our truth, by the way.
Yeah, our truth came out. Oh yeah, let's not forget John Cena, you know, putting our truth through a table at the press conference after the show. I heard, and it was so funny, and I want to. I'm almost so John Cena. He kicked off this whole heel turn by blaming the fans. Never mind the fact that the fans been cheering him for a decade. He's blaming the fans, and then on Raw Monday night, we hear kind of the same thing from Becky Lynch. After she had the promo about Lyra Valkyrie and all this, she goes after the fans. I saw a clip from, I think it was Wrestling Observer Live today. It was Brian Alvarez and Lance Storm. And Brian had a point. And I try to have Mike Sempervive on from time to time. Brian had a good point though. I think it's kind of like the heel authority figure. It was cute for a minute, but fans are over it. And I think the fans are over this whole have a heel blame the fans thing. It's not working. Nobody buys it. Nobody's buying it from Cena because again, it doesn't gel up,
I don't know about that, Stu. I'll agree with you on Becky.
Yeah.
Because Becky has there's no way she should be out there cutting a promo about, the fans maybe go. No, they didn't. Come on, Becky. They've loved Becky for God knows how long now. You didn't ever hear, we love Becky. Becky sucks chants.
No,
never. John Cena. See, this is where I kind of buy into what John said in the big promo that explained everything, because I do feel for John. I do feel that a lot of times the fans treated him like garbage, so I do get that part of it. I think he's just struggling with this role. He's trying to take it like, play it like the Peacemaker character that he plays in that series, where he's a bad guy, but you can kind of still like him a little bit. He doesn't want to quite go over the edge. And, it's John is having, he busted up at the press conference. Our Truth got him again, which, it's a gift our Truth has, but I don't necessarily have a problem with John going that route. I think he's just having a very hard time doing this. That's all. It's a struggle.
Well, and it's something you just said. He's playing a role. It's not, and I said this a few weeks ago. It's not believable because I won't say he's not committed to it, but it's just, it's not clicking. It's not clicking. It really isn't. The matches don't help, and God help us if this is what we're getting, as long as he's got the title, oh boy. But it's just not, I don't think it's clicking. And yes, John Cena for a good chunk of his career had the let's go Cena sucks, split the crowd, very polar, whatever. But you have to admit, I would say at least the last 7 years at least, Cena has been getting cheered pretty unanimously. So, again, we'll see who his next challenger is. It looks like it definitely won't be Saturday night's main event. May not be Money in the Bank. So then we're looking at, maybe Night of Champions. Maybe he goes to Saudi Arabia.
I think he's going to Saudi. Hopefully, and we mentioned this too. Hopefully we're going to get our Truth and John Cena at Money in the Bank. I think that's a perfect fit for the Money in the Bank card. Give John an appearance, give him the match against our Truth. But you know what I really want him to do? I want him to tear our Truth apart. If you're going to do it, and you want to make him a heel, take one of the most beloved guys in WWE and just beat the living hell out of him.
Yeah, just
for about 5 or 6 minutes. Just every dastard, maybe give him 10 or 12, and just let him. No,
don't give him 10 to 12.
no offense from R-Truth whatsoever. None, zero. He makes one joke at the beginning, tries to get John to smile, and then John just rips him to shreds. That might help.
It might help. It might help. Yeah. By the way, we mentioned Night of Champions. It's Night of Champions is going to happen Saturday, June 28th at Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. They're going to do SmackDown the night before, and then of course Night of Champions there. So that was announced during Backlash. Let's talk a couple things from SmackDown. We've had the return of Alexa Bliss. Remember, she was slated to be at WWE World during WrestleMania weekend, and then she got pulled because they were going to do this and that, and creative and White Six, whatever. Well, she makes her return appearance on SmackDown in a tag match with Zelina Vega against Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. I was happy to see Alexa Bliss. She looked great. I got to admit, and I like Zelina Vega. I've met her. She's a sweet young lady. It was a little bit of a letdown, honestly.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, I think they did a good job afterward when she started interacting with Charlotte again.
Yes.
But she's so over. It's crazy. And the fact that they've been holding her back, her presence complicates the women's division even more in WWE. They have so much talent there. And you have a wave of women there with, Charlotte, Bayley, Becky that led the way. And Alexa's kind of a tweener between this new group and those ladies.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see how she finds a spot in here, because people want her there. There's no question about it. They love her to death. And it doesn't look like she's going to be doing the Wyatt Six thing. That looks like that has been scrapped. I mean, I know Bo Dallas was hurt, but she's not Wyatt Sixing. Not that I can see.
Now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. By the way, you mentioned Charlotte Flair. Isn't it funny that Charlotte Flair had the quote meltdown with the fans on SmackDown, and then Becky Lynch does a meltdown with the fans on Raw?
Mm-hmm.
And those two have been linked together for going all the way back to their NXT days, and arguably probably the two faces of the women's division, at least for many years, was Charlotte and Becky. And although they're not working together or whatever, they both seem to be going down similar paths on their brand. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and don't forget about Bayley on that too. I mean, we saw that interview that she did with Chris.
Except for the fact we haven't seen Bayley since before Mania.
There's something up with her. Well, yeah, at WrestleMania we had the she was supposed to be the tag match, and Becky attacked her. But Bayley in that interview with Chris Van Vliet really just seemed so down and out about where she is in this pecking order. And I'm wondering if there's going to be something very interesting going on with the three of them, kind of revisiting the Four Horsewomen a little bit. And, I hope Bayley comes out on top of the whole thing, but it is fascinating. You see Charlotte and Becky going in a place where they're fighting for their spot. And to be honest with you, there's some reality in that too. Charlotte's getting all this heat, and Becky, even though she's trying to be a bad person, not working at all. So this will be fascinating over the next year or so, where the three of them end up when the dust settles and the belts move around and we get to WrestleMania next year in New Orleans. Where are the three of them going to be?
That'll be
fun.
Yeah. We mentioned Money in the Bank coming up June 7th in Los Angeles. Qualifying matches will start this Friday on SmackDown and then continue Monday night, next Monday on Raw. We did talk about this on your show. Who would you like to see get the briefcase on the men's and women's side?
Well, the men's to me, it's I want Cross to get it. I know Kevin. I think it would be terrific with all the work that he's done, and considering how the popularity he's got right now, it would be a lot of fun to have Karrion Cross stalking the world champions for 7 or 8 months. Oh, if there's one, I know sometimes like Stu, you like the shorter version of the Money in the Bank chase, but that one you got to admit, if the if he gets that case, just having him and Scarlett hanging around the hallways and just popping up every once in a while in their creepy way, that is a good 7 or 8 months of drama, and I'm good with that. The women, boy, that's going to be tough. Maybe it's Alexa Bliss's time. You know, the fans would very much enjoy that, but that is wide open. That is so wide open. Maybe Chelsea Green. She's another
that
one
would
that's
be fun.
over right now.
I love Chelsea to death. I'm a big fan of hers. She did fantastic as women's U.S. champion. I would love to see, what she could create with the Money in the Bank briefcase, having her secret Hervis there, with Alba Fire and Piper Niven. That would be fun. You're right. The women's is wide open. There are a bunch of them that I could see holding it.
Oh, and the men's is too. When you really think about it,
yeah.
There's a ton of guys they could put in this match and just make it one of the biggest all-star matches of all time.
Yeah.
Just imagine if it's Seth and Roman and Cross, and then you start getting into CM Punk and this and Drew and Priest. You could have everybody in there that's won a world championship, except for Cross.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a loaded group. It just goes to show the talent level of WWE has that at the top, that they could really put an awesome match together at Money in the Bank.
Yeah, you're right. Couple of TV spots. So apparently Amazon Prime Video, whatever you want to call it, is going to reboot American Gladiators.
Uh-oh.
And they have tagged none other than The Miz to host this reboot of American Gladiators. Did you watch American Gladiators back in the day?
Absolutely. I fell in love with like 3 of the women on there.
All right.
I still remember Zap, right?
Hey,
but
it could be fun.
American Gladiators, we'll see how they do on the reboot, but I'm happy for Miz. It's funny. I interviewed him at the WrestleMania that we met a few years ago in LA. Mm-hmm. And after we were done, I just took a second because I'd never met him before. And I said to him, you just don't, I feel bad that you just don't get the respect that you really deserve for everything you've done. And he looked at me and was kind of like, yeah, I know. And, it's great that he gets these opportunities, to really shine. And, I think there's some things in his future if he ever decides to walk away. But this is going to be great for him, and I think the Miz is going to be an awesome host on that. He'll bring a lot of excitement, a lot of fun, and just hopefully he won't get out on the course. But I have a feeling we may see the Miz compete on American. If you were hosting American Gladiators and you and I were in good shape enough to do it, wouldn't you? Even if you were hosting it, wouldn't you want to say, what? Can you put me out there one time,
just for the hell of it?
Just fun, it'd be great.
Of course, Miz, a former Austinite. Used to live down south. Actually, I think he lived in the same neighborhood where the Undertaker lives, down in South Austin. In fact, Miz and I had this conversation. So I got to interview him when the Super Bowl was in Los Angeles, and we talked. So and weird connection, going all the way back to his Real World days. One of his Real World housemates was a colleague of mine at the Horn, the radio station.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kevin Dunn and The Miz were on Real World same year, same season. So Kevin knew, Mike, and Mike knew Kevin and all that good stuff. And yeah, Miz and Maurice did live here in Austin for about a year. In fact, ran into him at Circuit of the Americas during an F1 race. They were doing the hot laps, and I'm walking through the paddock, and there's Miz and Marie sitting around. So we chatted for a moment. So the other one, and this one's kind of weird. USA Network this fall will have everything on the menu with Braun Strowman.
Oh, dear Lord.
So apparently the premise is Braun Strowman's going to go to these restaurants and try to eat everything on their menu. It's a food show, so sure, why not? Now, of course, the ironic thing, Braun Strowman was released by WWE a week or so ago. Now, yes, he's under the 90-day no-compete, so he is still under contract. Do you see somehow him sticking around just for this?
Well, I think I did hear a rumor that they released him from his contract, but they're going to keep him kind of off to the side. Mm-hmm. And if they want to use him, they'll bring him in. Okay. So apparently it was a pretty amicable split. And if you saw the video of him the next day, he was out jet skiing down in North Carolina, having a good old time. So I have a feeling that they're not going to totally let the guy go and then have a TV show for him.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that would just be ridiculous. So I think he's still going to be around a little bit. The actual premise of the show, oh dear God, this is going to be, it's going to be fun. I mean, I'm a Food Network guy. I like watching all the shows and, used to watch Man versus Food a lot. The Adam Richmond version. I love Adam.
Yes. I got to meet Adam Richmond at a Super Bowl
one
year. He was
Did he try to eat you?
He did not try to eat me. He was great. It was in fact, it was at Taste of the NFL. It was which is an annual event they do it every year at the Super Bowl, where they bring in chefs from all the different NFL cities, and you go through and you're eating. You're getting the plates, and it's a fantastic event. So, I love doing them every year. And Adam Richmond was at that one, and he and I got to chat for a bit, so it was really cool. Yeah, and I like Man versus Food. That was fun.
Yeah, and the show itself, I'm sure it's going to have a few viral moments that WWE just loves to have.
Oh yeah,
they've got to have their viral moments now, and I'm sure you're going to see the pictures of Braun Strowman and all the food, and watching him just gorge himself. That'll be entertaining. I'll be looking forward to see where they go and what kind of food they shovel down his throat. So
yeah, I will be too. Let's switch gears, talk a little AEW. This is AEW in New Japan, because they had so New Japan Pro Wrestling had Resurgence this past weekend in Ontario, California. And Mercedes Moné cannot be called Mercedes Four Belts anymore. She lost the New Japan Strong Women's title in a three-way. AZM, Mercedes, Mina Shirakawa. AZM pinning Shirakawa to capture that title. Very interesting. I wonder if this is, well, let me ask you, do you think this is the start of the, quote, decline of Mercedes? Could we see her lose the TBS title soon?
Yeah, and I have a feeling Tony Storm's going to have something to do with it too. I think that the lead this is the beginning of the lead to probably Mercedes winning the world championship at All In. I don't know how she's going to lose the British belt, and that's escaping me right now. But the TBS title will probably have some sort of crazy thing go on where after Mercedes wins here, Double or Nothing. I'm guessing that she's going to get up in Tony Storm's grill, and eventually she's going to be defending the TBS title and lose, and set up a even heavier rivalry for them at All In. So that's where I think it's headed. Kind of got to clean the slate for her to become the world champion. Okay. So I say get ready for Mercedes Moné, AEW Women's Champion, in a few months.
Okay. Yes, she is also the Rev Pro Undisputed British Women's Champion. So we'll see how long she holds on to that title. Let's see. Dynamite 300. Can you believe they're about to reach 300 episodes?
Wow.
It will happen Wednesday, July 2nd at the Toyota Arena in Ontario, where New Japan was just at. Collision will also be taped that night. 300 episodes of Dynamite. I mean, they're in their 6th year, so I guess that makes sense. But I mean, they've already surpassed Nitro. So now they're the longest running weekly wrestling show on longest running weekly primetime wrestling show on the Turner networks. I'm sure we will see some big things happening at Dynamite 300, don't you think?
Oh, I can't wait. So I'm sure Tony's going to be jumping around either before or after the match or the card's over too, and it just and he deserves it. Look, he has laid it on the line to make this happen, and a lot of people bang on Tony, but what he has accomplished with AEW, and some people like well, he's rich, he could pay for it all day long, and yeah, he did, but now he's making a profit and a nice one at that. So, give him credit and I also say give a lot of the performers credit, especially the ones that were there from day one and didn't take the WWE money and stayed and are seeing this thing through. And I hope that more of them do that too. You just get the feel that WWE, while they act like AEW isn't competition. Triple H said that at a press conference. Oh, our competition is the NBA and Major League Baseball and the NFL. It's not, it's not anybody in wrestling. And that's a crock. And admittedly, there's a big gap between 1 and 2, but they're getting their footing back.
Yeah,
they got this big TV deal. The talent is very good, and everybody's pretty much healthy at this point too, which is a big problem they've had over the past couple of years. That people were just killing storylines because they were getting busted up all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens as we get to All In and keep rolling and get to the Dynamite 300. This the Beach Break card coming up here on Wednesday night. It's going to be awesome. I mean, I think that's going to be a terrific show. I mean, normally when they have those cheesy little named shows, other than the Winter is Coming show, I haven't been excited about them. This one I'm ready for. I am ready to see Mox and Samoa Joe go at it. It's gonna be a great night.
That will be. Of course, and Tony Steel Cage.
Yeah, and Tony deserves a lot of credit. You can question what he's done at some points, but overall, he got the job done.
That's right. He has, and he's been good. He's been good, and he's been good to us, the wrestling media.
Oh, absolutely,
giving his time. You've talked to him. I've talked to him. All the media calls for all the different events. He gives of his time, and this is a man that's he runs AEW. He's was it strategy officer or something like that for the Jaguars. Owner of Fulham FC in the Premier League. So his time is valuable. His time is, so to give that time to us. Yeah, Beach Break, which by the way, all these Beach Break Dynamites that they've done, it's never been near a beach. How ironic is that?
They need to have it on a beach. If I talk to Tony next time I get to ask him, I'll see if
we Bash at the beach back in WCW. Yeah. Beach Break tomorrow night from the Now Arena in Chicago, which was the home of the original All In. The poster's right behind me. You mentioned Moxley, Samoa Joe for the AEW World Title. That's going to be in a steel cage. Will Ospreay, Hangman, and Page, who are going to meet in the finals of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament at Double or Nothing. They're going to be in a tag team match against Konosuke Takeshita and Josh Alexander from the Don Callis family. You've got a 4-way women's world title eliminator match with Timeless Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa, Sky Blue, and the New Japan Strong Women's Champion AZM. Ricochet will face Zach Gowen.
Yes.
Bobby Lashley will give his vote on MJF joining the Hurt Syndicate, and then they'll have a tribute to Steve Mongo and McMichael, who passed away a few weeks ago. Of course, legendary Chicago Bear, lifetime Longhorn as well. It's going to be a great card, and to fit it in 2 hours in 6-8 minutes, but It's going to be a good card. What are you looking forward to the most on Wednesday night?
If you couldn't tell, I'm so ready for Ricochet to take on Zach Gowen. It may not last long, but what an opportunity for Ricochet to continue to cement himself as maybe the top heel in AEW.
He's getting there.
It's getting close, and and he is just such a cool character. I had him in the studio when they were out here in Las Vegas for Collision, and just he is a cool cat, man.
Yeah,
and but he seamlessly has transitioned into this heel character, and you can just feel it. He loves playing this person.
Oh yeah.
Of course, I asked him. He said, "Well, how do you know that that's not the real me?" Well, that's true. It's a possibility, but he's just amazing. It's gonna be fun to see Zach Gowen in the ring again, and I do hope Zach gets one good leg shot in.
Sure. Yeah, I get one in. By the way, think about the July that AEW set up for itself. So they've got Dynamite 300 on July 2nd, and then 10 or less, almost a week later, they're doing All In week up in Arlington, just up I-35 from me, with All In, Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, Starcast, all that good stuff. And then they turn around and they've got a 6-date residency starting July 16th at the Byline Bank Aragon Ballroom in Chicago. So they're going to do Dynamite Collision for 3 weeks at this Aragon Ballroom in Chicago. This comes on the heels of they've got the 7-date residency at the 2300 Arena in Philly coming up in September. But this July AEW, they've got a lot going, don't they?
Yeah, and look, Tony is not going to let up the gas pedal. I, I, I think everybody out there is feeling that this is kind of like they're almost at the point that they were a few years ago when that, and I don't know if you remember the one night that their ratings nearly beat Monday Night Raw. They were so close, and then all of a sudden Roman Reigns comes out with his veneers and Paul Heyman, and and then AEW had everybody on the planet get hurt, and it just changed the trajectory of everything. They've got to be feeling like they found a niche. Tony relented a little bit on going to big arenas, and he has found venues that are just very interesting to see them at.
The places one they were just at in Detroit looked fantastic.
They were that was a Masonic temple, if I remember right? And they're doing some cool stuff. I mean, I think there are some flaws in that model a little bit. It was kind of weird seeing them at that venue, backstage with a staircase. It was that was a little odd where they were cutting their promos. I would have put the backdrop up, but maybe that was part of the charm of it. I don't know. Maybe that's just my opinion, but they are really finding a spot where things are looking good on TV and everybody's wrestling really well. And I know you hate the Death Riders thing, but I think that was almost a challenge to everybody in AEW, not just in storyline, but backstage too. Look, we're slipping and we have got to step it up. Everybody's got to step it up. And I think they did. I think that was part of this whole thing was we're going to put a lot of you in big spots here. Yeah. We need everybody to perform because we need to have more stars, and they've done it. I really think they've accomplished it.
And I agree. I'm just tired. I'm just tired of John Moxley with that briefcase. It's stupid. It's silly, and his promos all sound the same. But that's a whole nother thing. So, but I get it, and you're right. Look, I've talked to Dustin Rhodes, who's right down the road from me, and and he talks about how everybody's stepping up their game backstage and everything. So I get it. I totally get it, and it's showing. And again, credit Tony Khan, credit the talent and the staff there at AEW, really making themselves. I liken it to what Ring of Honor did, especially in the late 2010s, where they found their niche and they did what they did, and it was, I will still say some of the best wrestling on the planet. They called themselves the best wrestling on the planet. Ring of Honor did that in the 2010s, and I think that's what we're seeing out of AEW right now. So ironic that Tony Khan now owns Ring of Honor. So
yeah, and one thing I'll say real quick, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
is with that, I think that a lot of the performers in there have begun to understand the flaws that they had. And to me, Will Ospreay, when he was saying what he said about WWE and so on, one thing that I really liked about what Will said was, I had to do some things differently. My promo game wasn't there, and I needed to improve. And I'll tell you what, that's a leader right there to me. That's a locker room leader. This is a guy who many consider the best wrestler in the world, and he's pointing out his flaws in an interview. How many guys do that? Not many. And I think that shows the new attitude of AEW.
I think you're right. He is Mark Hoke. Catch him Sundays, 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. to noon Central on the Mark Hoke Show. If you're in Las Vegas, tune in 101.5 FM, KDON FM in Las Vegas. You might hear me on there. If you're not in Las Vegas, stream it on the Odyssey, AUDACY app. I've never worked for Odyssey, but stream it on the Odyssey app. Catch it on Facebook, X, and YouTube, right?
Yep. And the podcasts are on markhokeshow.podbean.com as well. Just go to markhokeshow.com and you can link to everything and be part of mine and Stu's family, because we're a lot of fun.
We try. Mark, I appreciate it, man. All the best to you. Have a great rest of your week. I think I will see you on Sunday.
Okay. Sounds good, brother.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Yep, you got it.